Hi everyone, Jodey with the Ring Lord here. Welcome to our beginner weave series. This is season 2, episode 4, Abhainn. Abhainn. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce it, but I call it Abhainn because that's how it's spelled. So this is what it looks like. This is done in 2 colors down the middle and 1 color on the outside. So basically what this is we have a 2 and 2 chain that's sort of captive between these large rings. This is shown in 14 gauge. That's 2mm wire. It's SWG. 5/16 inch ID for the smaller rings, and 14 gauge 3/8 of an inch for the larger rings. So let's get into making this weave. I have put up a graphic that I made recently of all of the ring sizes that I tested. This weave will work in any material. So from stainless to silver, whatever you want to make it in, it'll work with the sizes that I have listed. Make sure you pay attention to SWG versus AWG because it does make a difference. So I've gone ahead and made a short piece of 2 and 2 chain, so you'll need to go ahead and do that. I do suggest putting a wire, paper clip, whatever, onto the end of this, just so you know where you're working from. If you need to pick it up, you can hold it from with the paper clip or whatever you have. So the 2 and 2 chain should be as long as you want your bracelet to be. This weave doesn't really scrunch up like other weaves do when you start adding the larger rings. I've done it with 2 colors, so I can refer to it as the purple side or the pink side, and then the frost rings are just connector rings. They don't really play a big role in this, with the exception of those are going to be where you're going to put your large rings. So I'm going to start with large red rings down the purple side. So I'm going to add a large ring to each pair of frost rings. So I'm only going through the frost rings. You want to make sure that you're staying on the same side of the piece. This weave is good for jewelry. I've made bracelets and necklaces. It'll probably be good for earrings too. I've not made earrings. It's also good for wallet chains. Probably would be great for straps on a bra. It's fairly flat. Or straps on a shirt. You might be able to make a belt out of it. I've never tried that, but it's possible. All right, so once we have the large rings down the side, excuse me, we're going to grab another large red ring. This ring is going to go, okay, we're going to work on the second pair of frost rings, the second red ring. Going up through the large ring, scooping around and going down through the large red ring above it, as well as the 2 smaller rings behind it. And I'm going to close. So that's what it should look like. I'm going to go down to the 3rd red ring, come up through that red ring, scoop around, and go down through those 3 rings behind it. I'm sorry, through the large ring and the 2 rings behind it. And that is the process for this side of the weave. up through the red ring, scoop up and around through the red ring above it and the 2 rings behind it. Okay, so you would just continue going down however long your 2 and 2 pieces, adding these large rings. So those large rings are all added on the purple side. So I'm going to flip this over because now we need to add the rings to the pink side. So on this side, it's a little bit different. You are going to take your large ring. I'm using our matte gold. I'm going to go through the second set of vertical rings, which are my frost rings. And I'm going to go through the top set of frost rings and close that ring. I'm going to get another open gold ring. I'm going to skip the second pair of vertical rings, and I'm going to go to the third pair and add a gold ring. Now we're doing the same thing we did in that first step of adding the rings down the side. Oops, got some. So I'm going to add another open ring to the next pair of verticals, which are frost. And then I'm going to add a ring to the last pair of frost rings. So right now, one side should look like that. The other side should have loose gold rings or whatever color you're using flopping around. Grab another open gold ring. This time, we're going to flip up this loose ring. We're going to come up through all 3 rings. So the pair of smaller rings behind it, as well as the large ring that you flipped up, scoop around, and you're going to go through the large ring above it and close. So what you want is to see this. You have the one side that we did before where this ring is sort of sloping this way. And this is the ring we just added, and it's sloping in the same direction, but it's on the other side. So let's move forward to our next pair. So I'm going to flip up the gold ring. I'm going to come up through the back of these 2 smaller rings behind it, put the large ring through the large ring as well, scoop around and go only through the large ring above. So you're going through 3 rings and then 1 ring when you scoop around. And you can check yourself, because when you kind of smush it flat like this, you can see that these rings are the same in the same orientation. So I'm going to get 1 more ring. And I'm at the end of the piece I want to make. So I'm going to flip this guy up, go through these 2 rings behind it. Oops. Go through that large ring I flipped up, scoop around, and go down through the large ring above it. And close. So I'm going to go ahead and take this paper clip off. And this is what it looks like when you've put all the rings on. Now, if you want to, so say you finished your bracelet, and just pretend this is longer and it's bracelet length. You can take these 2 rings here and add some extender rings, like maybe 3 rings. And then to put a clasp on, I would simply, it depends on your clasp. So I have a lobster clasp here. and the loop is in the same orientation as my top rings here. So I have to put a ring between them to add this clasp. So I would just add a ring to the clasp and then go through the top 2 rings like so, and just add the clasp there. So it'll lay like that, and then like I said, if you have the extender rings or not, it doesn't matter. You would just clasp it to whichever rings are at the bottom. So I've clasped it to these 2 small rings. That's pretty much it. It's a fairly easy weave to make. Please subscribe and like this video. If you want notifications, hit the notifications bell and you'll receive a notification every time we add new content. If you need assistance with an order or product, please contact customer service. The email is orders@TheRingLord.com. If you need help with a project or this weave or any other weave, please send us an email at projecthelp@TheRingLord.com. I hope this video has been useful, and I hope you have a great day.